Ted Bundy.
You'll see that maybe not everything is true that you've heard about me.
Never before heard prison phone calls between the infamous serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer.
A 31-year-old man was arrested at that apartment.
Ted Bundy, a 42-year-old killer who left a trail of at least 20 murders.
If you get a chance to know that you're about to die, then you would definitely want your last words to be nice and meaningful. Well, things are different for these prison inmates. Their last words carry meaning, but they're definitely not nice. So let us present you the top 10 scary last words from prison inmates. Peter Curtin. Tell me, after my head has been chopped off, will I still be able to hear, at least for a moment, the sound of my own blood gushing from the stump of my neck? That would be a pleasure to end all pleasures. The words you just heard were the last words of Peter Curtin, better known as the Vampire of Dusseldorf, a perfect title for an infamous criminal like him. Peter was a German serial killer who terrorized the city of Dusseldorf. He was a mass murderer and rapist. Throughout his criminal career, Peter raped and killed almost 60 people. But the most chilling thing about this maniac is how he tried to drink blood from his victims' wounds. His craving for blood earned him the title of a vampire. Peter boasted a great EQ, allowing him to easily blend in with society, not letting anyone know what kind of monster lied within him, ready to prey on his next victim. He was finally brought to justice when a woman named Maria Budleys had some suspicion about him and immediately reported him to the police. The court sentenced Peter to death. They executed him by guillotine on July 2, 1931. Before his death, he asked his physiatrists a chilling question about what would happen to him after beheading. Will he still be able to hear the sound of his own blood? And these would become his last words, putting an end to his terror. George Appel. George Appel has undoubtedly one of the most iconic yet creepy last words in the history of death row inmates. Authorities sentenced George to death for burglary, shooting and murdering a police officer named Lieutenant Charles J. Dmer. Appel denied all charges against him, but after a prolonged investigation, he was found guilty and brought to justice via electric chair in 1928. Appel knew that there was no running away from his fate, and before he went, he made his last moments iconic and memorable. And so he did with his last words, using a play on words. Well, gentlemen, you are about to see a baked Appel. His last words were infamous, or should we say dark humor, in the face of an inevitable death waiting for him. The 3. Ted Bundy. In the realm of serial killers, there's one prominent name that we're all familiar with, and that is none other than Theodore Robert Bundy, better known as Ted Bundy. He was an infamous American killer, convicted of killing an unknown amount of women during the 1970s. The number of victims is still unknown, but Ted admitted to killing only 30 women from 1974 to 1978. Even after his confession, it's believed that he had murdered much more than that, approximately 100 women. Bundy's charming personality became his ultimate way of luring his victims. He portrayed himself as an injured man to his victims, and once he gained their trust, he would abduct them, sexually assault them, and eventually kill them. It was later revealed that Bundy was also involved in necrophilic acts with his victims' dead bodies. Bundy met his execution via electric chair on January 24, 1989, marking the end of his reign of terror. Till his death, Bundy portrayed himself as charming and tried to manipulate the society that he was a victim. Knowing about his crimes gives his last words an eerie vibe. I'd like you to give my love to my family and friends.
The only words that he did say at all was the fact that give my love to my family and to my friends, which I found somewhat odd.
The reason why it was scary was the fact that he ruined so many families. If he hadn't been caught, no one would have suspected that this harmless-looking man was the devil in disguise. Timothy McVey. Timothy McVey was a 33-year-old American domestic terrorist responsible for the Oklahoma City bombing on 19th April 1995. He and his accomplices killed 168 people by bombing the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. It became the deadliest terrorist incident in the U.S. until the 9/11 incident. McVey was an extremist and had anti-government views, which mainly began when he served in the military. Timothy, alongside his two partners, Terry Nichols and Michael Fortier, planned to execute the bombing on the second anniversary of the Waco massacre. Law enforcement captured McVey following the bombing due to a license plate violation. After his arrest, the police found that he was one of the prime suspects in the Oklahoma bombings. Timothy had a prolonged trial, which led him to his execution via lethal injection on June 11, 2001. Before he died, McVey said his final words, which showed how much he was addicted to his extreme views. "I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." 5. Carl Panzram. Carl Panzram is yet another infamous serial killer known for his mass-killing spree, child molesting, arsonist, thief, and rapist. There's hardly any crime left that this guy hasn't committed. Throughout his criminal career, Carl took the lives of more than 100 innocent people, but only confessed to murdering 21 boys and men. Aside from murdering, Carl also confessed that he had raped over 1,000 men of all ages. Panzram was a sadistic serial killer who had no remorse for his heinous acts against humanity. The court sentenced Carl to death by hanging on September 5, 1930. During his execution, Carl mocked his executioner for being so slow. "Hurry it up, you Hoosier bastard. I could hang a dozen men while you're screwing around." His words show how much of a monster he was from the inside and the outside. Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer, aka the Milwaukee Cannibal, is the true definition of evil, known for killing 17 men and boys from 1978 to 1991. He was a sex offender who committed unforgivable crimes. He dismembered and even ate some of his victims, which mainly included black men and young boys. He lured his victims by promising them money for making out with him, and once the victim was in his lair, he would drug them and then drill holes inside their heads. He disposed of the bodies through various methods, mainly including dismembering and then decomposing them through acid. He was finally caught in 1991 and was sentenced to life in prison, but that didn't save him from meeting his fate. In 1994, Dahmer's fellow inmate Christopher Scarver murdered him with a metal bar while they were both cleaning the gym. Scarver killed him because of his cannibalistic taunts against other inmates. Dahmer met his fate at the age of 34, and before he died from severe injuries, he reportedly said his last words to his killer, "I don't care if I live or die. Go ahead and kill me." 7. James Jackson. James Lewis. Jackson was a criminal who was found guilty of murdering his wife, Sharon Jackson, and two stepdaughters, Erica Mays and Sonsaria Mays, in April 1997. Jackson was a heavy drug addict, and due to his tragic life problems, he strangled his family to death inside his home. He also left a note telling about his inability to support his family. The court sentenced him to death by lethal injection on February 7, 2007, in Huntsville, Texas. Before dying, Jackson showed no remorse for his heinous act and acted like he was a protagonist in a movie or something. See you all on the other side. Warden, murder me. I'm ready to roll. Time to get this party started. Safwait. Thomas J. Grasso. Thomas J. Grasso is another American murderer and a burglar. In December 1990, he took the life of 87-year-old Hilda Johnson in Tulsa, and in July 1991, in New York, he murdered 81-year-old Leslie Holtz. The state of Oklahoma executed Thomas at the age of 32 by lethal injection on March 20, 1995. His last words became the focal point of his case. In his final moments, Thomas only complained about not receiving SpaghettiOs for his last meal. "I did not get my SpaghettiOs, I got spaghetti. I want the press to know this. Benign John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy, better known as the Killer Clown. He was an American serial killer convicted of murdering at least 33 boys and men from 1972 to 1978. Gacy was a sadistic man. He lured his victims to his house and then tortured them while dressed up as a clown. After murdering the victim, he would bury them in the crawl space of his residence. Gacy finally got caught in 1978. He tried to plead himself insane, but was still sentenced to death by lethal injection in 1994. During his death, Gacy showed his true colors, mocking his victims and his executioners by saying, "Kiss my ass." 10. Robert Alton Harris. Harris was an American criminal who murdered 2 teenage boys, John Majewski and Michael Baker, in 1978. He was also involved in acts like kidnapping and burglaries, which led him to the gas chambers, where he was executed on March 6, 1979. Harris's final words are definitely one of the most sadistic yet iconic words on this list. You can be a king or a street sweeper, but everyone dances with the Grim Reaper. These were the top 10 scary last words from prison inmates. Hope you enjoyed watching today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel and ring the bell icon so you can see our latest content. Thanks for watching.